Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we are continuing on the Makeup Basics series and we have successfully finished off our complexion. Now we are moving on to kind of the sparkle feature, and that is our eyes. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. The Viseart Petit Pro in Midsommer. We've already applied some color to the eyes. We've set down our lid with our setting powder, and then we've added a little bit of the highlight to the high point of the brow. We've applied our contour color to the socket, or the deepest part of the eye, and then we applied a little bit of our bronzer just to marry those two shades together. I'm going to start with an all-over lid shade. I'm going to be using this kind of pale bone tone, the BK Beauty A501. My eyes are slightly hooded and slightly downturned. They might not look very hooded right now because we have done some sneaky contouring to recede the fold that I have on my eyes. But I like to recede that, create a bigger, wider open effect, and lift the outer corner where my eye naturally slips downward. I like to have a mirror on the table angled upward so I can tilt my chin up and look down. This will help stretch our eyelid. I like to start right at the base of my lash line and then blend upwards. Having your mirror below you and tilting your chin up and looking down, it's stretching your eyelid. That way you don't need to pull or tug on your lids. Everything is nice and tight to make your blending a little bit easier. BK Beauty A503, and I am going to go into the shade next to that bone color we use, which is slightly darker, and I'm going to use this right up in my socket line. If you applied your bronzer here, you could skip this step, but I'm going right over my bronzer placement just to add a little bit more color intensity. Very light hand, windshield wiper motion back and forth, and then I'm going to buff this motion. I always like to work with my brush angled up at about a 45-degree angle. That will help to extend the reach of my shadow, to make it go a little bit further, to create the illusion of my eye extending upwards, which is one of the effects I'm trying to go for. Going in this windshield wiper motion back and forth, it's going to help you spread the color. And then when you add in these little tiny buffing motions, that is going to help further extend the shadow and help really diffuse the edge. Morphe M330. As you can see, it's a little bit smaller. It has a little tapered point to it. I am going to use the third shade down. I use this shade all over my eyelid. I use this shade to apply right up in the socket line, and then I'm going to use this shade right in the deepest part of my socket line. When I'm picking this shade up, the very point of my brush is going to the shadow. Chin up, look down, tip of the brush. I like to start in the outside corner where I want the most depth. Spend my time wiggling that brush in, and then as I have less on my brush, I'm going to pull it inwards. Now, how far you take your brush, your shadow in, is going to depend on where you want the drama. I generally like to keep most of the product on the outer fourth of my eye, and then when I have less, I'm going to bring it about halfway. Then I like to do just a little bit of windshield wiper motions. Now that most of the product's off my brush, I'll tilt up a little bit more, place on that outer corner, and bring it in towards my lower lash line. So we're almost creating a little V shape. And then sometimes I can go back up here. This will pick up some product, pull some product down to my lower lash line. That's going to be very subtle. You're not going to really see it, but you will have a suggestion of color there, which will help to give you more of an open effect later on. Every day, this is where I stop it. Maybe I'll take a shimmer shade and apply it all over my lids. But if you want to take it that extra step, add a little bit of smokiness, say this is your daytime look and you want to take it up to an evening look, I'm going to take a smaller brush. This is the BK Beauty A504, and I've been using a lot of the BK Beauty Angie Hot and Flashy series. Something I will say I really appreciate about this set is the fibers they use to make these brushes are so soft, and the shapes are so nuanced, and they just gradually get smaller and smaller and smaller, which really hits all the points that you need to create a really beautiful eye look, and they work for any style that you want to go for. To the shade right under that deeper kind of movie plum shade, right under that last shade I used. Right here in this very outer corner where we stopped our shadow, you're going to apply it there, and then pull down to your lash line. This is repeating what we did on that last step where we were dragging that last color down here, but you're repeating it, and now where you have that shadow, it's going to give you a little bit more impact. And now what I like to do is I like to work it into the lash line about halfway across my lash line, and then in this outer corner of the eye. Then you can take it into the socket of the eye. I like to go back to that previous brush I used, no additional product, and just use this to soften it out. That just helps to blow it out, make it look a little bit softer. So now I'm gonna go back to that first brush I used, which is the A501, and I'm gonna pick up this kind of blue plummy shimmer shade, and I'm gonna pick that up right on the side of my brush. I'm gonna really kind of press the brush into the pan, little buffing circular motions to pick up that shade, tilt my chin up, look down, and drag that color right over my eyelid, going from lash line right up to meet that socket color that we applied. I'm staying shy just to that inner kind of bit of my eye. I want to keep that tear duct open because I'm going to go back over it and apply a lighter shade to really pop that area. But this shade I'm bringing right over, and I'm just letting it overlap that previous shade that we applied in the outer corner. I'm going to take a little bit more, and now I'm going to start in the center of my eye. I'm going to press and just keep patting and pulling over, and then work that to meet those darker colors that we applied. And doing this press and pull motion, you're going to deposit more product. And as I have less on my brush, I'm going to pull it in towards the inner corner of my eye. Now I just wiped off my brush on a microfiber towel, and I'm going to use the lightest shimmery shade in the palette, and I'm going to take this on this very inner corner of my eye we kept clear, and then just work it in to meet that shimmery purple shade we just applied. So then you have a nice gradient of color. Now for an everyday basis, instead of using that purpley shade, I would personally apply this all over the lid with one of the matte shades we use up here. There you go. And I also like to take a little bit right here in this inner corner of the eye. Now I'm going to use my handy dandy A503 that I've used for everything in this series so far. And I'm just going to start here on the inner corner and buff my way right to the outer corner. And then once I make it to the outer corner, I'm going to work my way back in. And that's just going to give you a very soft, diffused, smoky effect. Now, if you want to, you can use a few different of the shades that you used on the upper eye to map out your lower lash line. I like to keep the lower lash line simple. I'm going to use this shimmery shade right here on the lower palette. And since this shade's already kind of like a mix of everything I've applied here, it's going to be my one and done shade for my lower lash line. So with this one, you can tilt up if you need to. I generally find looking up almost and just feeling my way is the most helpful for me. And I'll go from my outer corner, focusing from the outer to the half, and then feel my way to the inner fourth. Not a perfect line. I mean, from afar it gets the job done, but using a small brush like this and just feeling your way, I feel like I get a better result than I do when I look at it and really kind of take my time. I'm gonna use my A503 and just blend over. I like to look straight ahead, place my brush where I want it, then look up. And then work my way back and forth, and then when it feels right, I'll make my way to the inner fourth. So this one, it looks like I got a little bit more color than I did on the other side. That's okay. Take my brush, wiggle back and forth. And then when I get to this outer corner, I'll even take my brush and circle up. That will help just lift it up a little bit more. After you blend it, you feel like there's still too much on that side, you can go back to this side, add a little bit more. Part of the joy of this look is it doesn't need to be perfect. There's something really pretty in this everyday look that isn't perfect. Now for eyeliner, you can use a pencil liner, you can use a liquid liner, you can use a powder liner. I recently picked up the Stila All Day Waterproof Eyeliner in the shade Alloy, which is a gray. I love this. I'm gonna use this. So for this, I'm gonna take my right hand, which is my non-dominant hand, I'm gonna make a fist, place it on the table. I'm gonna rest my elbow on top of that, so that way it's stable and I can use this to swivel. I'm gonna look down into my mirror. If I need to, I can use my pinky finger to anchor. Now, I generally like to stop my liner right here. So I like to find where my eye starts to slope downward and stop my liner there. That will help give my eye a more lifted effect. And then once I have that figured out, very light pressure. I'm gonna almost do like it's like a subtle stamp and pull. And I like to take this to the very inner corner of my eye. And I work with the angle facing downwards, so that way most of the product is getting distributed into the root of the lash. Now, real life, this happens. A little bit got out of line right there. I'm gonna take the tiny brush I used for my lower lash line, while my product is still damp, and I'm gonna smudge over. When I'm working on this inner corner, I smudge from the inner corner to the middle and then outer corner to the middle. And that's just gonna help soften up that line so that way it doesn't become too intense. Now, doing the other eye can be a little tricky, and normally I cut this part off in videos because I feel like it's time consuming, but I wanna share with you how it works best for me. I'm left-handed, so I work with my left hand. However, I find trying to work with my left hand on my right eye is really tricky. So I'm gonna repeat that motion, this time use my right hand. This, it takes some practice, it takes getting used to, but tilt my chin up, look down, use the point, and just gently press and pull. And then once I've done my stamps, I'll use the point of my brush just to connect them. And there's that. And you know what's funny? Even though my right hand is not my dominant hand, sometimes I feel like this side comes out better than this side. Who would have thunk it? Same thing, little brush, smudge from inner corner to the middle, outer corner to the middle. If I want this to be a little bit softer, I will take my palette and I will take the very point of this brush, go into the shade I used on my lower lash line and just very tip, and then look down, close my eye, and just smudge over that. Same thing on the other side. Then I'll use my big blending brush to give it one more smooth over. There is that. Alrighty, well, my memory card filled up and it cut me off when I was applying mascara. I used the Rom&nd All Fix mascara in the shade Long Ashe, and I just applied a gentle coat across my upper lash line, and then I used my NYX Thick It, Stick It Volumizing Brow Mascara in the shade Cool Ash Brown just to fill in my brows, and that really completes my everyday eye makeup look. The final step of my kind of everyday routine and my part of this basic series is lips, and that is so quick I don't feel like it really warrants its own video. Buxom, this is the full-on plumping lip polish in the shade Dolly. Keep it simple with everything, just keep everything kind of flowing and feeling harmonious. This is going to complete the Makeup Basics series. If you have stuck around and you saw the entire series, and thank you so much. If you are new to the series and this is the first one you're seeing, I'll have all the other videos linked together in a playlist so you can see from foundation to eyes how I like to achieve a flawless makeup look for myself or when I'm working on a client. Thank you all so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you have any questions, leave me a comment down below. Share this video with a friend that you think might enjoy it, and subscribe for more fun makeup content. I will see you all in the next video. Bye, y'all.